Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Gamer Guild Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things in the wide world of video games. I'm your co-host, Cody Robertson.
And I'm your co-host, Noah Bowers. This week, we have another big release early on this year, and unfortunately, we lose another studio in the gaming industry.
That's right. We'll cover all this and more right here on the Gamer Guild Podcast, but first, please welcome this week's guest, an Augusta University sophomore communication major, Will Hayes. Will, how you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Nice.
Pretty excited for the upcoming game this week. I've already got it pre-ordered. I'm ready and waiting.
Awesome. Well, we're going to talk about that game in just a minute. Will, you are a returning guest here. We've already asked you your favorite game of all time, and I'm drawing a blank here. I can't remember.
DMC3.
DMC3? I would not have guessed that.
Yeah,
I would not have guessed that
last time, too.
That's great. Okay.
No.
Yeah, good choice. So I'll ask you this now, since you're a returning guest. What is your favorite moment that you've experienced in a video game? Moment that made you feel cool or like, you know, awesome or made you cry, whatever?
Oh, I know exactly what this is. And this could be a slight spoiler, but it's at the very beginning of the game, so it doesn't feel like that much of a spoiler. But in God of War Ragnarok, at the very beginning of the game, when you are fighting Thor and you think you're supposed to win, he kills you, you go to the loading screen, and in that moment, Thor goes, "We're not finished until I say we're finished." And you get resurrected by him planting Mjolnir on your chest. And it is perhaps the most badass thing that has ever happened to me in a game. I was like screaming at the TV. Coolest moment.
I remember that so well. I'm a huge God of War fan. God of War 2018 is my favorite game of all time. I'm a dad, so that it just really hit me hard. So I love that game. Loved God of War Ragnarok even more. I think it's, me personally, I like 2018 better. I think Ragnarok's objectively a better game. But I remember that moment very, very well.
I feel that with DMC. DMC3. Love that. DMC5 is a better game.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. I saw a crazy take saying that God of War 2018 was better than Ragnarok. What do you guys think about that? And I don't
think that's that crazy.
I mean, I think it's a little crazy. I think everything about Ragnarok objectively is better than 2018, except for the story. That's the only thing, I think.
I think it's common, though, that whenever there's a sequel, people just tend to prefer the original, even if the second one's better.
Well, maybe. And I definitely prefer the original, but this one take I saw from this one individual on the internet, so it doesn't really matter, was saying God of War 2018 was objectively better than Ragnarok, but I don't know. I can think of so many reasons why Ragnarok's better.
This reminds me a lot of a pretty, controversial topic right now with the upcoming Doom: The Dark Ages, where people are really upset that they have slowed down the game and about how they've changed it. When in reality, all they've done is added a slider that lets you control how fast the game is. And there's a bunch of these diehard, like hardcore Doom fans from way back in like the 90s who are screaming about how they just made the game too easy and how it's like...
I think people always do that. All the old heads are like, back in my day, WASD or whatever.
I mean, there's still people who are complaining about 2018 and Ragnarok even existing. Even the original director for the original God of War games has come out and said that he hates the direction they've taken Kratos in because he's a little bit of a misogynist and doesn't like that he's not as masculine anymore and he's been forgiven by himself.
You can't press circle for Aphrodite anymore, and that's just the biggest crime.
Yeah. It's a bit rough.
Truly.
Yeah. Oh, well. I like God of War a lot. I think it's awesome. But
that's a great moment as well.
Yeah.
It's a really nice fake out from the developers, especially with the loading screen popping up and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Super, super cool.
I remember when I first, I love God of War. I pre-ordered it, so I played it at launch and everything. And then I was trying to show my wife that scene, and I was desperately trying to find a streamer that had already streamed it, And I guess this streamer was trying to like act tough and was like, "Oh yeah, I let Thor kill me here." And I'm like, "I'm pretty sure he's supposed to kill you, bro. It's okay." Like, I'm pretty sure this is part of the game. But that was just kind of funny. Like in the subtitles, like, "No, I let him kill me, guys." Okay, buddy.
What happens if you don't? Like, I'm pretty sure you can get good enough at the game that you just don't lose the fight there. Does something just automatically happen?
Lose the Thor fight? I don't know.
Yeah. I've seen that because, like, I know Sekiro has a fight like that where you're like a lot of games do that.
Yeah.
But I've never.
I don't know
Sekiro
if you can win. I know which one you're talking about. With
I think
Sekiro.
he kills you when he takes your arm anyway.
Same thing. Ghost of Tsushima, the very first fight. I think it's the same situation, but it's
Right.
just endless. He just stops taking damage after a while.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I'm
I like
curious
it.
what happens.
I love when games like do a thing for when you've beaten it the way it didn't intend you to do it. Like it gives you some kind of Easter egg or hidden message.
y'all ever
It's-
played Far Cry 4?
Never played Far Cry.
There's a really good one in Far
Is
Cry
there?
4. So at the very beginning of Far Cry 4, it's all about you're trying to spread your mother's ashes on some remote mountain in this country that you're from, and like your distant relative is the leader of the country, and so he asks you at one point to just wait and just like he'll be right back, and that's actually when the game starts. You're actually supposed to like leave and go and like do the game, right? But if you wait like 15 minutes in real time, he will come back and be like, "Oh, thank you so much for waiting.
That's
anyway,
funny.
let's go anyway." And then the game's over. That's it. It's
That's
really
pretty
cool.
good.
There's
It's
another
really
one
cool.
like that in Batman Arkham City, where
Ooh.
Catwoman gets the opportunity. You're playing as Catwoman, and you can either go save Batman or leave with the money. And if you leave with the money, the credits roll.
Nice.
It just rolls the credits, and then at the very end, it does a rewind thing back to where you get to make the choice, and then it's
Cool.
like, make the right choice.
No, but really, yeah. Nice. This is
Yeah.
a Batman game, not a Catwoman game, guys.
Just developers having fun, you know.
Awesome.
Good stuff.
Great moments in gaming. That's good stuff.
Love it.
Well,
We love
speaking of moments in gaming, let's get into some of the new releases. Now, we missed last week, so we're going to go over some stuff that came out a week ago that we missed that I know, Noah, you're very excited about one of these. So let's get into it. Avowed, first one. Came out Tuesday, February 18th. That is from Obsidian, one of the best RPG studios out there. That's a $70 full price video game, but it is on Game Pass. If you have Game Pass, you don't have to pay for it up front. And it is an Xbox and PC exclusive. So it's an Obsidian RPG. This is based on the Pillars of Eternity universe, same universe, but it's a first-person fantasy RPG, kind of a Skyrim type, quote unquote, only because it's first person. But that's what everyone's comparing it to on the internet, basically, is Skyrim. It's got an 81 on Metacritic, reviewing very, very well.
Yep.
I've played it just a little bit. It's pretty good, I think, but I really haven't played that much to form quite an opinion yet. Noah, I know you played it a little bit more than me. What do you think so far?
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed with it, to be honest with you. I think right now Obsidian's probably at the top of their game. I don't know if anybody's really making consistent games at quality as Obsidian is right now. I'm gonna be honest.
There's a few, there's just a handful, but
There's a handful that are out there.
Larian
yeah,
Studios.
Larian, I was about to
but
say.
that's what I'm saying. I don't think they're making it at the same pace.
That's right. You're right. Mhm.
So Larian, I think, is making masterpieces.
I wanna say in defense of this, they came out and said that half the time that they spent making BG3 was just building a pipeline to make better games and faster. So
Well, we'll have
see.
to see it. We'll have to see it because right now
We'll see.
Obsidian's firing on all cylinders. They had Outer Worlds come out, I think, 2 or 2.5 years ago.
Yep. And then Outer Worlds 2 this year.
Really, really liked that one. Avowed this year, Outer Worlds 2 later this year, Grounded a year before that, and whatever the Ink game was, their medieval fantasy game.
Pentiment?
Yes,
Yeah.
Pentiment. They also released that.
That's also Wildfire was doing really well. Pillars of Eternity too. Yeah, I mean,
So yeah, they've been really, really cooking. So I've played a little bit of Avowed. I've been a little busy, unfortunately, with esports, so I haven't been able to play as much as I would have liked to, because I'm probably gonna no life this as soon as I get a break.
That's how you do it.
It's not gonna be for everybody. I'm gonna go ahead and say this right now. They definitely figured out what audience, what demographic they wanted to gear this towards. This is much more like whimsy fantasy. Not really hardcore fantasy or like The Witcher or Kingdom Come Deliverance that just came out. This one's very much like, yeah, things happen. Stakes are kind of low. You can kind of do fun magic things, and it doesn't really take itself too seriously, which is a common thing in a lot of Obsidian writing. You can see that in the Outer Worlds as well, where it's like it's supposed to be kind of like a dark, kind of twisted universe, but the actual like aesthetic and gameplay of the game is very light and fun. So it's a weird juxtaposition there, but I think they handled it beautifully. The writing is already really, really good. I really like some of the companions that they've introduced. And I really, really like the combat. I think, in my opinion, this is some of the best first person combat I've seen in a while.
Wow.
Not first person shooter. And they did a really good job of just making it very, very seamless. There is definitely a skill ceiling in this, because I've messed around with like playing it on higher difficulties and lower difficulties just because I wanted to see. And yeah, it'll whoop you if you're not good at it, and it's really, really punishing, which I like. Also, fun fact: this is not a leveled RPG system. So similar to like how Skyrim was, when you explore the world, enemies would level up with the character. In this, it does not do that. So if you go over to like end game level stuff, they're going to be end game level enemies and they will, immediately destroy you.
A little more like Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild, yeah, very old school RPG. That used to kind of be what the formula was until Skyrim changed that. So
I like it better this way.
Yeah, it's back to return to form. I think it's handled really, really well. Yeah, it's super fun. Love it. Doesn't have as much stuff in it. It's more similar to Outer Worlds than Skyrim with the way that their dialogue system works and RPGs
a lot of
and things
comparisons to Skyrim on the internet, which I'm like, please stop this.
Yeah,
please
it gives
don't
it a bad
do that.
rep.
It
out of
really,
the
it's
gate.
like, come on, like I don't know.
Very not. If you liked Outer Worlds or something similar to that, it's gonna be closer.
I think comparing games to modern Bethesda is like the cardinal sin. It's like,
Oh yeah, you can't even compare Bethesda games to Bethesda games now.
yeah,
true,
it's like
that's
calling
true.
someone EA. Like, what?
Hey,
Why would you say that?
don't do that.
So yeah, $70. I will say a little steep for $70. I haven't
Yeah.
gone through all of the content yet. Now I will say the way that they've developed the open world, this is not a singular open world like Skyrim is. This is like a Nexus hub and then connected other open worlds that are like basically unified to make it look like it's one grand open world. Handled really, really well in my opinion. I think the way that they've done that makes it a lot easier to optimize. That's what I've noticed. And they're able to do a lot of cool stuff with like the skybox and the backdrops and things like that make it feel very open world. But I'm gonna be honest, I'm still just in like the starting area so far, like the city of Paradise and everything. The visual language that they've used to develop the map in this game, second to none. Maybe only to Breath of the Wild I've seen recently, where like you can really just use the environmental clues around you to guide where you're going to go. You really don't need the UI or waypoints and everything like that. And it really, really encourages exploration. There's like many side bosses or different quests that you can discover and things like that. And it's all like, you can spot like, oh, there's like a crevice there that probably leads to a different location. It's all very intuitive. It makes complete sense. And there hasn't been a location yet where I've been like, oh, this probably isn't going to lead anywhere. It's always led to like something for you to discover, which is really, really interesting. And you can tell they've put a lot of time and effort into crafting this experience for people to go through. And it's done really, really well.
Nice. Yeah, I like that kind of stuff. I love environmental storytelling. That's
really,
the good
really
stuff.
well done.
I think it's always nice when you can look at a rock and see where an artist placed like a line. It's like there's a very like the first game I think that ever had that for me was Elden Ring, where I was just walking around and I could see like a hut that I had seen before, and I knew that in the basement of that hut I had found like a cool trinket. And there's just that everywhere. That's an amazing function, I think, of games.
The artistry in Elden Ring and the Obsidian games, very, very good, very well done. So Elden Ring is like Renaissance painting, and this is more like modern art, I guess you would say.
Sure.
Different audiences, but
I don't
definitely can be
want
enjoyed.
to call it a cartoon.
No,
But it's somewhere in between a Renaissance painting and a cartoon.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, a little lighter,
You should take it a little seriously. Just a little bit.
Just a little
Just a little bit.
just a little
but
bit.
don't compare it to Elden Ring.
Don't compare
No.
it. Definitely not. Don't compare
Not
it
a
to
Souls
Skyrim.
game.
I guess it's the closest thing. People are only doing it because it's a first-person fantasy RPG. That's the only reason.
Yeah,
Which, frankly, I think Skyrim robbed us of a lot of those over the years. I think it might have taken a little bit up too much room at the top where people just didn't want to compare themselves to Skyrim.
You think maybe that's happening with Baldur's Gate 3 now?
I
little
think
bit?
Baldur's Gate has set itself well aside enough. Larian
maybe.
Sure.
has a history. I played the older games before they made Baldur's Gate. Divinity Original Sin 2 is one of my favorite games of all
that
time.
one I actually do
Love
like
that game.
Original Sin 2. That one's really, really fun as well.
And we're hoping for Original Sin 3 next.
Ooh, we'll
crossed.
see. They're definitely not doing Baldur's Gate 4. They said
No.
that. So I don't know if they'll go back to Divinity. I don't know if they said anything about it.
I don't know,
I think they should.
or maybe a new IP.
I would be excited about something new.
I would
Maybe a
too.
sci-fi IP, perhaps.
Ooh, a sci-fi
Larian?
IP?
Not really my thing.
I know.
I don't know.
Sci-fi RPG, I mean...
You got Space Marine.
okay.
I do have Space Marine. You're right. You're so right. No, but yeah,
It's the same thing.
Love and Avowed. I'm really excited to see, because I've already seen some quality of life improvements, but there's already some things in this that I think because of like the fantasy style and the story that they're trying to tell that they've taken away that were in, that was in the Outer Worlds that is now not in Avowed. which makes me very excited to see the Outer Worlds 2, because to me, it almost looks like the Outer Worlds 2 is going to be their actual next big like step up in terms of quality. This almost feels like an in-between game, which is surprising because I think Avowed's been in development longer.
I think
it was marketed pretty highly.
I've heard a lot of that where this feels kind of like a stepping stone to the next thing where they're the holdover from their last generation of stuff. And, you know, I mean, I've heard some dissenting opinions on Avowed 2. There's been plenty of controversy where, you know, people are throwing shade at it. But I mean, a lot of that is still it being compared to Skyrim and stuff like that. Let the dust settle a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's very similar to the Outer Worlds, so I agree with like it being an in-between game. That's what it seems like to me. Still very, very enjoyable. I think you can tell the craft is there, so people would still get good use out of it. But yeah, I'm excited for Outer Worlds too. I can't believe they're releasing both of those in the same year. It's a pretty gnarly release schedule from them.
We'll see if it works out for them.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
I think Avowed is a great Game Pass title. You know?
Yeah.
It's like
I got it on Game Pass personally.
Yeah, me too. I mean, it's perfect for a Game Pass owner. $70, you're right. Tiny, maybe a little bit steep. I just looked it up. It's How Long to Beat has it at 17 hours for the story. That's not very long for an RPG.
That's like if you only did the main quest.
Yeah, I know.
Speed run it.
That's just to get a baseline. It has the average at 34.
Yeah, that's what I'd probably say. It's a 30 to 40 hour game if you really sink your teeth into it.
Yeah. Okay. So at $70, that's a little less for an RPG. You know, I want, you know, like The Witcher 3 is like a 70+ hour video game. Baldur's Gate 3, same thing, 80+ hour, that kind of thing. That's what I expect from an RPG. So I think it's great that it's on Game Pass. I don't know if I would pay full price for this yet. But once again, I've only played a tiny bit of it, so I guess I will form a better opinion in the coming days.
I'd probably be in the same boat. I think a $60 or even like $50 would probably be perfect. Sure. 70 does seem a little steep, but
70 is
because
steep
it's
for everything.
On Game Pass, I mean, it's like.
I mean, we were talking about earlier, Night Rain is coming out for $40.
Yeah.
And that's insane. Like a FromSoft game coming out for $40. I feel like Night Rain is going to be at least 17 hours worth of content of like different bosses to go through.
Yeah.
That
like 15 to 20 hours. That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah. And you know, Space Marine 2 is 40, and that was what? That was only like 12 hours of content, maybe?
Oh, like the main campaign? Yeah, maybe
like
12,
it's
13.
It's very replayable, but yeah.
And then, you have the waves and the...
I think that's another factor is replayability.
Yeah.
Like, if Avowed has a good enough skill tree system where you're, like, encouraged to make more than one character, then, you know, maybe, but...
That's why I think it's not really replayable, because you can respec your character at any point in time. Just with gold.
I gotta get that vibe as well.
So,
I don't see me replaying Avowed. Just from
I
the
don't
little
see
bit
it
I
as
played.
well.
Yeah.
Especially because so far from what I've seen, the decisions so far in the games, now it might just because I'm in the starting things, so I haven't really experienced some of the larger quests yet, but it definitely seems like there's not as much player agency as there was like in the Outer Worlds. In the Outer Worlds, they let you like, you know, murder any NPC. They let you manipulate a lot of different quest lines. They all kind of like merge together. They had different factions. This one seems a lot more straightforward in terms of the story that they're trying to tell.
Yeah.
And there's only like maybe 2 or 3 options rather than being like 4 or 5 options.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
I get that vibe 100%.
A lot more narrow. So yeah, replayability.
I also feel like the variety in the dialogue isn't that crazy like you expect in an RPG like this. There are some points where I was like the very beginning, spoilers if you haven't played, the very beginning, you either set her free or not. Okay, that's obviously a very big decision that you can do later on. But I haven't really got a lot of anything else. Like every conversation I've had, I felt like, okay, this is just like moving the story along, you know? It's not really...
Now, I have noticed that depending on what background you choose, like Scholar, Court Augur, Warrior, Hero, or whatever, that has had a significant impact on a lot of the dialogue choices I've been able to have, which I didn't actually anticipate. I thought it would be more so like a stat thing, but that's definitely, it's purely role playing as far as I can tell.
It's got stat options too, though, for sure. So there's like, I can't remember what the stats are called, but there's different like...
Yeah, there's like perception, might.
Yeah, there you go. Mind is one of them. That's it. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, stuff like that. But you'll see, you know, a lot of RPGs will have you'll be able to see like the option anyway, even if you can't select it. This one, it blocks it.
Yeah, it hides it.
I like that.
I do like that a lot as well.
Reminds me a lot of the background system in Cyberpunk though, which has been pretty heavily judged for how little it actually impacts the game.
Well, how many were there? There was 3 in there, right?
Yeah,
There's
it's
like
3.
Street Rat.
You get a different prologue depending on which one you pick, and
that's
then well, you get dialogue options,
Oh,
which
that's
is
true.
the fact that dialogue options is all you get is kind of the major gripe. Is that's most of the game where you just get some random dialogue options. Baldur's Gate 3 and I think Divinity Original Sin 2 had the same thing, but you actually got to do things with those dialogue options rather than just talking.
Yeah, this is similar where like depending on what you choose as your background, you have pretty significant dialogue options. It kind of, so far I am seeing it's kind of like manipulating the reputation that you have, like with the followers and things like that. They kind of like look at you a certain way based on what your background is. So we'll have to, I haven't gone far enough in the game to know whether or not it has significant gameplay stuff. One thing that they've definitely like just straight up ripped from Baldur's Gate, which I'm not complaining about, it's a really well made system, is instead of like talking to your followers or companions in between quests and things like that in order to like move their storylines along, there is a camp system. So you set up camp like you would in Baldur's Gate to like rest, like short or long rest, but this one's just a normal rest, which also you don't need a rest. There's no survival mechanics in this game, which I did think that was a little weird, but I guess if you wanted to like pass time or something like that, but you can do it only on certain locations on the map.
Okay.
You set up camp and then it turns into nighttime. You set up a little camp that you can explore. That's where you do like your crafting, your cooking,
Final Fantasy 15.
enchanting. Yeah, very similar to many RPGs. And then that's where you get the unique dialogue options with your companions to like to
With
learn
your
about their
allies
past.
and stuff.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
to like explain more about yourself, or that's where like all of that dialogue happens. So that's an interesting dynamic that I didn't anticipate.
The best form of flattery is imitation, and it's great that Larian didn't patent that game mechanic.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Foreshadowing.
I don't know if they even
speaking
could technically, since it's like D&D rules. I don't know.
That's true. Who knows? There's a lot of rights issues
Speaking of
there.
which, good transition.
Yeah. No, we'll get into that later.
We will get into
later.
that for
All right.
sure.
All right, let's run through these other 2 games that came out. Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. That's a little spin-off of the Like a Dragon series. It's got some naval combat in it, and it looks like
I did see clips of that.
Yeah, it looks pretty fun. Looks like it's got the normal Yakuza kind of tomfoolery in a video game, Came out Friday, February 21st by Ryuga Gotaku. I always screw that up. It's RGG. Everybody calls it RGG Studio. It's a $60 video game. It's on everything but the Switch. It's a 79 on Metacritic right now, so reviewing pretty well definitely for a spin-off game, reviewing pretty well. I don't know a whole lot about the Like a Dragon series except for they have very, very silly side quests, and it makes for some really great streaming content, and it's really funny. Do you guys know anything about Like a Dragon? You guys Like a Dragon fans?
All I really know is that I occasionally see people throw chairs with like dragons attached to them.
Yes,
and I'm like,
it's so
okay,
cool
that
looking.
seems really cool. As a person who loves DMC, I really gotta get into Yakuza. It's just such a long series that I have not.
It's intimidating.
When I start 1, I gotta finish 6, and that's a whole like process.
I hear Infinite Wealth is like a pretty good, if you're new, maybe try Infinite Wealth, and that's a good one. I definitely thought about Infinite Wealth, but it's a little bit different because it's turn-based in Infinite Wealth, so it's a little weird.
Interesting.
But yeah, apparently that's the direction they're going now. It's turn-based from now on, but yeah, there you go. Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. There you go. Check it out if you're into that. All right, Will, let's talk about your game that you're excited about. Comes out tomorrow, Friday, February 28th, by Capcom Studios, Monster Hunter Wilds. It's on everything next gen except the Switch. Sorry, guys. But yeah, it's the next Monster Hunter game. It's been in like a beta state for a little bit, so people have played it early already. Will, you played the beta a little bit before, right?
Yeah, they've had a couple like short beta, like not weekends. They've sometimes done them in the middle of the week, but it'll be like 4 to 5 days where you can come in and fight. Recently, they just did beta test 2 with the challenge fight that is a staple for most of the Monster Hunter games, where you get to fight their flagship monster with basic gear for in 20 minutes.
Oh, that's
not fun.
But what do you mean? That sounds so fun. Yeah. So, Will, you're a Monster Hunter guy, right? Or you're excited about Monster Hunter Wilds? Tell
I
us
am
about
extremely excited about Wilds, although this is the first Monster Hunter game that I am getting in on the floor of. I did not get into World until well after Iceborne released. Actually, really until like last year. I've tried getting into it a couple times and couldn't. My friend pretty much dragged me kicking and screaming into my first like 7 fights
like
against
a
a
true
monster.
Monster Hunter fan.
Yep. And once I finally beat the main quest line for World, not even any post-game stuff, that was when it really clicked, where it started feeling like this kind of an RPG in a very sincere and real sense, where you are role playing as a monster hunter. Like, it's not, a lot of the mechanics are tied into something that's actually happening. It's like lore, mechanical and like lore and flavor is kind of blurred. Like, the line between them isn't super clear. You're finding tracks. You're having to switch to everything in your belt and like manually. The controls are not intuitive at all, but I love the game. Wilds has really stepped it up, I think, in terms of like new player experience, where it doesn't feel as clunky. It doesn't feel as dragged down. And it's a lot snappier, a lot faster, and in my opinion, a lot more fun to play.
Nice. All right.
Love Wilds.
Would you recommend this for first-time Monster Hunter people?
If you have a PC that can rival NASA, then I strongly recommend it at launch.
Yeah.
If you don't, I would maybe wait for reviews, because there have been some serious issues with optimization in the betas and don't let social media fool you, because there's also some images going around of like completely like 6 polygon monsters that people are seeing. And that is not an issue with optimization. It's an issue with like back-end stuff where LODs aren't rendering correctly and people are like turning around too quickly and just something isn't rendering right. But as far as like actual optimization goes, it's I have like a 3080 Ti in my computer, and I mean, my RAM is on the lower end, but I struggle to run that game on like low to medium. There's supposed to be this big optimization patch coming out with day one, but there's a lot of issues where we're now reaching a generation of games where execs are more concerned about, well, I mean, they've always been more concerned about profit, obviously, but because frame generation is such like a new and popular thing, they're relying on it and relying on people to have cards who have it. And even worse is NVIDIA is obsoletizing old cards prematurely by not allowing them to use frame generation and like DLSS. And so Wilds is suffering from a lot of like the overall like corporate problems that all games are coming out with, especially Capcom. And if you played Dragon's Dogma 2, you will understand the problem. It's that game suffered for months after launch, and even now you kind of need mods to fix it. Wilds has the potential to be great. It's an amazing feeling game, but they really have to fix its optimization issues before it can be like the best Monster Hunter game that it absolutely could be.
Yeah, I've heard some horror stories about Capcom, in particular their optimization. Definitely Dragon's Dogma 2 had some crazy things going on. And then in the beta with Wilds, I heard some weird stuff going on with the optimization.
I do want to take this moment to plug my favorite series, Devil May Cry, which is also made by Capcom. And DMC5 is flagged as one of the best optimized games, and it came out in like 2020.
It's smooth.
It looks amazing, and it can run on a crap top.
Yeah.
It's amazing that the same company can put out both.
Yep, time will do that. I'm really interested to see the reception on this game, because I did play a little bit of Monster Hunter World, not enough that it really hooked me. I think I only played maybe 10 to 20 hours, and then I kind of let it fall off. I would agree that game just has so much to learn and to like really
immerse yourself
in, to really make it a satisfying experience. And if you're not in it all the way, you're not gonna enjoy it. It is punishing. So I'm interested to see how this one goes off. It's got so much hype behind it, which, you know, that day one patch better hit, because that's gonna be, I mean, they're gonna have millions of downloads to try and.
They're buffing half the weapons. All the players will be fine anyway.
Yeah, make it easy. So very interested. But I mean, it's the latest release from Capcom. They've been the powerhouse for a long time. I remember when we covered Dragon's Dogma's 2 released. And that had a lot of hype behind it as well, because the combat system looked really, really engaging and a really interesting story. And then the performance issues really, really bogged it down at launch, and it kind of tore down the review score pretty early.
And now everyone's forgotten about it, basically.
Exactly.
There you go.
It was a pretty stacked lineup, though, because I think Veilguard also came out that year.
Yeah, that time during that year was pretty wild.
Yeah.
But, yeah. All right, well, that's all we have for the new releases from this and last week. Let's get into some of the news. We got 3 news stories that we're going to have to get through a little bit quickly because we're kind of behind. So, First one, a Marvel Rivals dev support team has been laid off based in Seattle. NetEase's R&D's team, NetEase's R&D team based in Seattle that worked on Marvel Rivals, which contains about 7 people, has been laid off and the studio shut down. Now, here's why I wanted to talk about this. The reporting on this has been extremely misleading, okay? When this first happened and the news first broke, a lot of people assumed that the entire development team at NetEase that put out Marvel Rivals was shut down. That is not what has happened.
Nope.
R&D stands for research and development. So basically, this is a team that looks for future optimization type things in the game, and it's not uncommon for R&D teams to get laid off after the launch of a game. So not a huge deal. It is bad to see layoffs. We don't like layoffs, but this was reported very inaccurately, so we wanted to set the record straight about it. We talked about this before, Noah. This is probably just NetEase moving out of the U.S. They're a Chinese-based company, probably just moving to China.
Yep.
That's, moving all their assets to China. That's all. And that's pretty much it. Nothing else to really talk about here. Will, you got something to say about it?
I had a friend yesterday say, like, coming into a conversation saying, yeah, Marvel Rivals' whole dev team just got fired.
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
People just don't know and people aren't talking about it correctly. It's like,
yeah, well, and the clickbaits don't help with it. They take the headline and then they run with it. So,
yeah. And I'll say this: the leader of that R&D team that got laid off, he didn't really do a whole lot to dissuade people from thinking that. I don't think. I think he kind of allowed people to think that and like get him a little more sympathy, you know.
There was a pretty salty post on LinkedIn that started all of this.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, exactly.
Where people like took his words, which were, "It's a shame to see that they don't care about Marvel Rivals." Essentially, like I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember exactly what it was.
Yeah.
But it was essentially just him saying, "Wow, it sucks that NetEase doesn't care about this super successful game." And it's like, you didn't have all that much to do with the success of the game. Come on.
It was something like, even if your game is successful, you're not safe. Something like that. Yeah. But people thought, this is the big thing, people thought from that statement that he was the game director, which is not true at all.
No.
He didn't correct anyone, so it was like, kind of just let people think that. I mean, you know, he didn't say he was the game director, but he didn't correct anyone. So I was like, maybe you should have said something. But hey,
he also did just get laid off, so he's probably in his field.
He has every right to be angry.
Like,
I get it.
You know what? Maybe
and
I am the game director. After all, why shouldn't I?
Yeah, exactly.
No, but really, the only other thing to talk about Marvel Rivals is that they've been cooking.
Yeah,
they're
crushing it.
On it.
The skins have been on fire. The latest
Susan Storm already.
Yep. All right. The hero releases have been really cool. The Fantastic Four, obviously, being the latest heroes being added, probably in partnership with the latest movie coming out later this summer.
Susan Storm has been trending on Google. I'm not sure why. I guess I'll find out later.
Yeah. Well, I don't. Maybe not on the work computer.
Yeah. Wait till you wait.
Wait till you get home. But yeah, so excited to see that. I don't know if we talked about it or not, but we can add this. I know we're running out of time. I'll add a little quick news blurb in here based on Marvel Rivals. But do you remember seeing the latest Overwatch 2 like dev update that they just got?
Yes, we did talk about it a little bit. Yes.
Okay, so
they're scared.
Oh yeah,
got
I am scared.
answers.
So Marvel Rivals, keep it up.
Yeah,
love to see it.
Do it.
Love to see it.
Yeah, there you go. All right, have you guys played? I know you played a little bit, right? Marvel Rivals. Dude,
yeah.
I'm really thinking about jumping in. I just see it more and more.
I think you'd like it.
And I see less and less Call of Duty stuff, so I'm like, maybe I should fall off Call of Duty. I kind of have fallen off Call of Duty.
I already fell off Call of
There's no way
Duty.
you're still playing that.
Yeah.
Hey, I keep
Warhammer with me.
pestering Mr. Noah over here to try and get us an esports team set up for Rivals because I want it.
I think we'll probably have one next semester.
We'll be the first, man. Yeah, that'd be pretty
I think
cool.
we're
So
gonna
I'm like,
have
come on, we can get
Overwatch
on the
and
ground floor.
Rivals.
Oh,
It sounds
that'd
like
be interesting.
It sounds like one of the frats apparently has like an Overwatch team that is like. Pretty, and there's we have a might have to bleep this out. Apparently, we have like a top 500 Lucio within our ranks. That is
Whoa.
not in the program yet.
Whoa.
But we have a connection.
What?
And
Why is he not in the
He's trying to
program?
get involved now.
Okay.
And I'm like, yeah, send him.
Maybe we just need better publicity.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, we got top 500 Lucio. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's like
Maybe we need a
found
podcast.
this person.
Maybe-
Oh my God, yeah.
maybe we need to get him on.
Yeah. If only we had a podcast.
But I think it sounds like there is still going to be interest for Overwatch because Peach Belt Conference will be one of the titles supported next semester. And Marvel Rivals is obviously going to be very popular. So we'll have to see. Hopefully it lasts throughout the summer. We'll get some recruiting for that.
I think NetEase said yesterday they were planning on supporting it for 10 years and beyond. So,
which is something you would say in
it's a big
media report. Yeah.
But yeah, I think you'd like it. I mean, if you like it.
Yeah, I'll try it out.
It's free.
I'm not a big hero shooter guy, so I'll try it out. I'll give it a chance.
I'm
give
a
it
Cloak
a
and Dagger main myself.
Ooh, nice. Cloak and Dagger's in it?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
They're
Nice.
a support,
Loki
and they're
all
one of
the
the
way.
best.
Loki?
Loki
All right.
all the way.
All right, I'm interested. Cloak and Dagger's a deep cut, man. That's pretty cool.
yeah,
That's
I
pretty cool.
steal your ult more than anyone else's. So
All right, I'll get into the game and then I'll know what you guys are talking about.
Yeah.
All right, next piece of news that I am so excited about. I screamed when I saw this news, guys. There's a new Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game in development. Oh my goodness, I am so excited. So they didn't actually come out and say what the game was, but if you read between the lines a little bit, you can figure it out. It's coming out March 4th, 2025. So it's obviously Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4 remaster. This is what people have been wanting for a long time. I'm a big Tony Hawk's Pro Skater fan. I played 1 and 2 quite a bit. It's a lot harder than I remember. Tell you what, if you played Tony Hawk's Pro Skater as a kid and then you think you can just jump in now, it's not. It's hard. Like it's yeah.
I played Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 on the Dreamcast.
Nice. Yeah.
That was my only experience with that game.
Oh yeah, that's a good experience. Yeah, I played it on the PS1. 4 was my favorite. 4, so I'm really excited 3+4 is coming out.
This is
So 4, like,
it's gonna be huge.
1 through 3, if you haven't played Tony Hawk, 1 through 3, you get like 5 minutes to skate or something like that. But in 4, they give you unlimited time, and they made you have like little quests in the area and stuff that you can do for people, and it's so fun. So I'm so excited that they're doing 4. This was revealed because a pro skater named Tyshawn Jones just casually dropped it on that podcast of The Breakfast Club with Charlemagne the God.
Oh yeah.
And he just like casually said, "Yeah, I'm in the new Tony Hawk game coming out," and so that just ruined everything. And then and so the company came out and revealed it. Said yeah, and he also said, "quote They got one." Quote, "They got a new one, they remastering." So there you go. So he kind of, I guess, accidentally dropped the news.
Yeah. Broke the NDA, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I'm
there
just
you go.
waiting on Skate 4, man.
Oof. Well,
Keep waiting.
this is good because we won't have to wait on Skate 4 now. So
true.
I'm really excited. But yeah, I'm excited for Skate 4 too. So so excited for this coming out next week. Oh my goodness.
That's gonna be so
Dude,
much fun.
I'm so excited to talk about it next week too. All right. Well, that's all we have for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Are you guys Tony Hawk's Pro Skater people at all?
I played a couple, when I was a kid. I'm not the biggest fan of it, not really my genre, but I mean the content that's going to come out of this game is going to be absolutely awesome. So
Yeah,
I'm
it's
very
gonna be fun.
It's going to be a big one. I think this is only a positive. Net positive.
Yeah. How could it be anything else?
Right.
It's
Good
Tony
stuff.
Hawk.
Yeah,
cool
it's-
dude.
Yeah,
That's
exactly. First
Never,
one-
never going to hate on Tony Hawk, you know?
Yeah, there you go. All right. First one was fun. Second one should be great. All right. Last piece of news we have to end it on a sad note here. Sorry, everyone. But Monolith Studios has been shut down. If you're unfamiliar, Monolith Studios is the studio behind the Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor games, the Lord of the Rings games. And they patented the Nemesis system from that game, which I've never played these games. So
Really?
Yeah. So if you two have, and you could like kind of explain the Nemesis system. a little
So
better.
the Nemesis system, the patent for it is intentionally incredibly vague, so that they can just use it as a cudgel to hit anyone that tries to make anything similar to it. But the system itself defines any control of NPC actions, which allows you to see them on this like chessboard, and then them interacting with each other and you outside of just you interacting with them is what defines the Nemesis system.
Okay, I got it.
So it's this like interconnected network of characters
Yeah.
outside of you that all
Interesting.
exist in like this army that you get to mess around with.
Okay, cool.
Super cool in Shadow of War. There was actually a canceled Damian Wayne's focused Batman game that they were supposed to
I heard
develop
about
that was supposed to use the Nemesis system for like criminals and stuff, and criminals could like grow their own syndicates
Yeah,
and stuff
become
like
mob
that.
bosses.
Which would have been
and
perfect for a
leaders.
Batman.
Yeah,
Batman
and then they were also working on a Wonder Woman game.
Yep, which
that
got canceled.
got canceled now. Which I want to say this: I did not really care for Monolith games all that
Okay.
much. Their actual games did not care for, and I also don't hate them because they didn't patent the Nemesis system. Warner Bros. Did,
That
and
yep,
Warner
you're right.
Bros. Is now able to just sit on it for the next
I think it's 2036 is when it expires.
2035,
Jeez.
2036. Yeah.
So it's a weird situation with Monolith here because of this patent. They were developing a Wonder Woman game. I'm going to assume any game going forward from Monolith was going to be using the Nemesis system.
Probably.
So I struggle to understand how a Nemesis system in a Wonder Woman game would work. It's just not the hero I think of. I think of Batman, someone that has like nemesises and stuff. So
maybe they were gonna do something maybe like a Pantheon style thing.
Could be
like mythical stuff.
Because the whole Amazonian thing,
right?
Yeah,
and the Greek Pantheon is all there. So
I guess it depends. We don't know what era of Wonder Woman it was tackling.
Yeah, we don't know anything about it really.
I mean, Wonder Woman does have nemesis on the mainland in like later comics and stuff like that.
True.
I mean, you have Cheetah.
Cheetah,
I think?
yeah, 100%. Mm-hmm.
Although that's the only Cheetah and Ares are the only two I know. So
those are the only ones I can think of. Yeah,
I don't really know any other Wonder Woman.
I mean,
villains.
Wonder Woman's kind of as when I was a kid was kind of an accessory to like the Justice League, pretty much in like the 90s and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what has been associated. But now she's got like Cheetah and Ares and stuff like that. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, they were gonna make a Wonder Woman game. That was the one they were developing, so that's canceled now. But yeah, sad to see another studio shut down.
I played both Shadow War and Shadow of Mordor. I really liked those games. I think they're really, really well made.
I know I would really like them.
Yeah, they're really fun, like third-person action.
Yeah.
Kind of good power fantasy stuff. Their dynamics and combat system work really well together. And the Nemesis system is really, really fun as a player because...
in practice, the Nemesis system basically just means like enemies remember you.
Yeah.
Kind of,
Yeah, but like so in Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor and stuff, if like a random peon enemy killed you enough times, like multiple times, then it could gain a name and then gain rank and status as like a captain or a lord. And I gotta say, I didn't hate Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War, but I think what they were doing with that system was like bottom of the barrel, like not bare minimum.
It was just them starting it, but it's basically it's similar to what like a D&D campaign or any type of RPG would do. Whereas like, but in this time the NPCs now have their own agency, so there are consequences for you losing or for you interacting with specific NPCs over and over again, and it would allow them to constantly escalate the stakes. So not only was the main quest or main storyline driving the story forward, but also the characters in the background that normally in every other game don't really matter to the story are now becoming more and more apparent as a problem that you have to deal with. So it's a cool live updating game within a single player game that can all happen within itself. You don't have to rely on like external updates.
And then another factor that is like, if you like almost kill someone with fire, then they might come back and be immune to fire next time. So like they'll adapt to you. And it's a difficulty modifier that we don't get to see in other games because it's now been patented. And I hate it because I feel like where we're at now, the Nemesis system would be a system that has been explored and exists in pretty much every game now.
Yeah.
Like that should be a baseline for difficulty across RPGs.
I think a very similar comparison would be the EA patent for the ping system that Apex Legends introduced back when it dropped. Phenomenal system, not only for like accessibility reasons, but also just for team communication without using a microphone or anything like that. It's so well made. And after that was implemented, they patented it, and then they released that patent. They said like anybody's free to use that in games. So Fortnite added it, Call of Duty added it, Battlefield. I mean, almost every game now has an in-game ping system that you can do from your first-person perspective without having to go into a map or anything like that. And it just really, really helps team-oriented games like that.
And I mean, Nintendo is like known for this, where they will patent pretty much everything that they know that they have that maybe they could get patented, just because they're such a huge company with so many lawyers that they will throw everything at the wall until it sticks, so that they can then beat into submission pretty much anyone else that tries to use it, and they can make all the money. And it's just a really crappy business practice.
Yeah. Well, Nintendo is just a legal firm that just makes games every now and then.
Sometimes release games.
Yeah. Basically. Well, that's all we had at the Gamer Guild this week. Sorry to end on a downer, and sorry we had to kind of rush through at the end, but we were running a little late today. So that's all we had at the Gamer Guild podcast this week. Thanks for joining us. Will, you got any last parting words of wisdom for any of the gamers out there?
Oh, I think I've said enough words today. I've so many words.
We said a lot of words today, that's for sure.
We did.
Said a lot of words. All right, from all of us here at the Gamer Guild, thanks for coming. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
The Gamer Guild podcast is recorded at Augusta University's Pamplin TVC and Podcasting Lab. Our producer is Jackson Garner. The Pamplin TBC and Podcasting Lab supervisor is Jasmine Garcia. Music is by Ethan Balducci. The opinions stated are that of the individual and not Augusta University.